People, DG, I'm back again. Now, I believe in life, everything, happens for a reason. Sometimes, obviously, we just don't find out. I believe the harsh truth of life is simply we just don't understand why certain things happen. But I also believe off the back of that, like, and on the back of that, it's like all your decisions, right or wrong, don't obviously hindsight you can do things better. And I'm not saying you must make blasé decisions, but I feel, or at least in my life, every decision that I've made up until this point has led me into a certain way. Or even if I look at specific to football, like as I'm going on this coaching journey and obviously getting qualifications and stuff, obviously they bring up different scenarios, and it gets me thinking about how how my old self was. I'll give you an example. If I was a coach, if I look at myself and I was coaching myself, I would. It depends on what sort of coach you were. If you was from a similar outlook as me and things like that, you'd get it. But other people would say probably bad attitude, wasn't necessarily the best trainer, wasn't the worst, but I wasn't necessarily interested in things that didn't involve a football. When it was start and all them things, wasn't really involved. And I've already made vids. I despised the bench. So for me, but one of the hardest things when I am a coach and things like that in grassroots level, it would probably be to put players on the bench. Because for me, anyways, people, if I can't, I've already spoken about this in a vid, but for me, being on the bench, it made me feel sick. It made me not want to play. It made me feel not valued and all of these certain things. But we're going off topic. I can remember joining my first team in the first training session. It was Emma and All Stars. Those of you who know Darnell Furlong and Paul Furlong, Paul Furlong's QPR legend. Darnell Furlong obviously playing for QPR. Same team as them. Quick little plug of that. But yeah. Remember the first session? Obviously we all played football in school, but it's like all my guys were playing for Emma and All Stars and playing for either Boardwalk Farm or Emma and All Stars. And obviously at lunchtime they was talking about teams. I ain't got a team and stuff like that. I'm not really playing football beyond playing in school. So I must have begged my mum and dad, oh blah blah blah, can you bring me? Went to the training session. Now the rest is history. But I can also remember people. Um, when football all made sense, like when it all clicked. And what I mean by that is football doesn't make sense. Football is almost like the stock market. It's illogical. Because how many times have you seen upsets? How many times have you seen tactics and people working on tactics for weeks on end, only for when that 90 minutes comes completely thrown out the window, or for another spanner in the works to change the whole scenario. Football is illogical. A lot of things don't happen. Messi shouldn't be able to out jump someone like Rio Ferdinand like he did in the Champions League final. The football is very illogical. So I'm not going to pretend to say I've never said I'm an expert on football. I have a long way to go before I can even conceive the idea. I'm at the very start of my journey and things like that. But I remember when I got the buzz for it and I started to understand, really fully understand. I've always understood tactics, but fully comprehend, take it on, almost have a crave for the knowledge, almost like a eureka moment. And it came playing for Norseman. Now Darren, a very good coach, not just as a coach. He taught a lot of us lessons, how to be men in certain incidences as well. And him and Glenn, the best coaches I've had. Yeah, man, two good coaches, and I've got a lot of time for them and still see them to this day. But obviously I've left Glenn's team, joined Darren's now, and we're playing and stuff like that. And I must admit, I'm having a tough time because I wouldn't say my attitude's poor, but it's poor in it. Like I've told you, like we was playing Boardwalk Farm once, came off the bench. I must have kissed my teeth. I think he gave me an instruction in it, and I kissed my teeth. And I'm on the right hand side. This man is on the left hand side. I swear to you people, I don't know how he heard this in. He asked me what did I say. I'm just looking at him like, you know them battles you can't win, people. I'm just looking. He's like, you do that again, you'll be on the bench, innit? And we were a bit of, I love him for it now, but at the time I hated him. It was a bit of pull and pull sort of thing, innit? Cat and mouse. But as he got on a bit, and I still had issues, which is for another vid. But as we got on a bit, I started to understand the tactics, and he was a very good coach in terms of tactical analysis, the way of looking at football, the reason as to if you move in this certain direction, this is going to happen, or the opponent's going to be there. Them sort of things, like what you do off the ball, what you do without a football in training, is really what he aroused the imagination. And I remember there was one session, I think it was pre-season. Now this guy you have to remember, he's a personal fitness trainer, so he's a bit of a madman, innit? We used to do some mad pre-season, jogging around. Then we used to do something called suicides, or they might be called circuits. There's four corners, and then obviously you're in like a team of four, and you're constantly racing in it. So obviously when you get to one side, the next team goes back and forth and so on until he stops. And he used to shake it because he said, obviously this is hard in itself, but he said if you come last, you're doing forfeits, and that after every round you're doing forfeits, so it's more push-ups and stuff like that. Probably was mad, but it worked, innit? But one thing I liked about him, he wasn't just, he was a fitness guy, like I said, but he wasn't a junkie of that fitness stuff. He understood football and why we need to do certain things. And I remember there was one session we was doing team shape. I'm a defender, I'm a right back, so I was part of the back line. And I can't remember what we was exactly doing, but I think if I remember correctly, we was in a back line and we was working on like moving as a shape and stuff. So we're outnumbered, so we probably had, what, there's four of us, there was about 5, 6 attackers, and we're dealing with crosses, we're moving back and forth in a line and things like that. And it's actually, he said stop, it was something like that, people. He said stop, stand still. As he's talking, like, you know when words just hit you, like he's speaking and it's almost like as he's speaking, it's hitting me so much. I'm like, it's getting white, I'm getting white noise. It's like, I can't really take on the instructions he's asking because I'm deep in it so much. And I thought to myself, this all makes sense. Like I knew I love football, but from then I want to be a scout. I want to be a coach. Somehow fell into YouTube. YouTube was on accident, but by accident, but it could help. It really opened my eyes for the and gave me a craving or a thirst for the tactical knowledge, to indulge in the tactical analysis, to see different tactics, to understand why certain things happen. I've always understood it because, like I told you, like I wanted to be a footballer. I've never been. I mean, I've seen about 100 players better than me, but I had heart in it. So I lived. Then I asked anybody in school. I wasn't just known for football, but I really loved football. I carried myself like a footballer to the point where there was certain junk food I weren't eating. I was getting the right sleep, banging out the 10,000 hours. I was doing everything you could. Don't get me wrong, had some interest, but the game is politics, innit? And like I said, I've seen a lot of people not make it that were had 10 times more ability. And when I got to probably 13, 14, I thought to myself, what, in the next 2 years, teams are deciding their scholarships. I'm probably behind physically in terms of everyone. Forget this football stuff, innit? But it really gave me a thirst for the knowledge. I actually really wanted to be semi-pro for a second as well, people. But left school, 16, obviously, once you're doing college and you get a job because you need money and things like that, you haven't really got time to, well, you do have time, so I'm not going to use that as an excuse, but you can't really commit to training and things like that. And I did kind of fall out of love with the game at that point because what is it? It's not happening for duns like me, innit? But he really, back to the main topic, he's a big reason as to why I am here. Like, if I look at people who have helped shaped my footballing philosophy, it's away from the Arsene Wengers and the Fergusons and people like that, would be class for the Boardwalk Farm because he ruled by fear. I went to a couple training sessions, didn't go back. That was some scary stuff, boy. But that Glenn, obviously elite coach, man. He taught me how to crave turn. Like this guy, bro, he's a big man, isn't it? But he could probably still crave turn like a 20-year-old. He taught me the crave turn. He taught me the importance of movement as well. It's like not just, he used to say a saying, when you paint a picture, just don't just admire the pass, in it. Go and run onto it and stuff like that. That one as well. He kind of he taught us how to fight as well, because he kind of opened up. I'd say he's the one that opened our eyes to kind of that we're bigger than a football team. It's like, obviously I don't need to go into full details, but if you're from London, you look a certain sort of way, you're in certain leagues, you're going against certain prejudices and things like that. He taught us how to fight against that, how to keep our pride and all of these sort of things, and put pride in our performances. Darren, like I said, man, open my eyes tactically. I mean, I look at, he's as big as an influence as Arsene Wenger, in my opinion, for me anyways, because I wouldn't be making these videos or seeing football in the way I see it if I wasn't playing for him. Like, we wasn't an academy, but we treated ourselves like an academy, as did the other teams in the league. Everybody wanted to play for an academy. Some players were on trial for academies. Some people, like, yeah, man, some people, obviously, people going through stuff, even though a little youth, 16, 17, 15, and all of these ages, it don't really matter, but everybody's going through stuff and going through certain other things that are the complete opposite end of the spectrum from football, but people put all of that stuff to the side to play for the team. Like, obviously, if we moved from Edmonton All-Stars to Norseman, and then again, like, the tactics went heavier. You had the clubhouse, you had the showers, we had the, obviously when you play Eastern Junior Alliance, you get the little after game meals, and you're doing things with your team. You all got a tracksuit on, you all got the same bag, initials. You're going on, you know, when you see the professional footballers going on a pitch, and even though they've played on the Emirates for 1,000 times and they know the Emirates is going to be looking nice, they're still touching it with their feet, walking around, eyeing it up, stuff like that, isn't it, people? It really, like, if I could be a fraction of a coach as to how Darren was and stuff like that, I'd love it, man. Because for me, honest to God, people, I can't understand how he's not a professional coach. Like, he had a lot of interest. Clubs used to come and watch us off the back of him. Like, he was an elite coach. Not just him. You always hear me say Snatch as well, his assistant. Now, the assistant is only by name, because within his own right, Snatch was Snatch. In times he could be harsher than Darren. Like, Yeah, I say Darren had no heart with the fitness thing. That Snatch was messed, man, because he would look in your eyes. You could see you're trying, you're dying. He look in your eyes, and he's still not content in it. And like, it's whatever he says goes in it. Like, and also Snatch as well. Snatch used to open my eyes. I'd say you always hear me say, pardon me, people. You always hear me mention street smartness. The need to be street smart, thinking, being street smart. That all comes from Snatch because he for want of better words, he wasn't pessimistic, but he taught me how to be pessimistic as a fullback. He taught me expect your centre half not to make it, expect the midfielder not to make it, and stuff like that. So he's as big of a thingy as well. And also as a coach and whatnot, it's all fun and games you telling the players, but you also need someone to relay the message and ensure it's happening. And Snatch did that. Snatch reiterated every point. Snatch had his own great philosophies as well, and yeah, between the three names I've mentioned, there are big reasons as to why I see football in the way I do. Paul Furlong as well. He was more my coach when we was younger as well. He taught playing with freedom, sort of Arsene Wenger thing. And obviously, there's a lot of other coaches here and there that I picked up on. I'm not going to name the team that he used to coach, and I'll name his first name. But Gareth, on the opposite end of the spectrum, I didn't learn a damn thing off him, people. I mean, that was a year from hell at the team I was at, man. I mean, I've told you, like, I hate the bench, innit? Can you imagine, people, being a regular, but you're a right back, and you're being played on a regular basis as a left winger? Still scored, but there's only so much a guy can do. And then when you're not there, you're on the bench. Despite the fact you're telling this guy, you are a fullback, you are not a winger. Don't get it twisted, I love flying forward, but that's not where I do my best stuff. Still insisting. We go back and forth to the point where I can't lie, I would start stuff for no reason as well. In training, do 2 more laps or something, I weren't really on it, would walk and stuff like that. The team was, I don't think the team had as much togetherness as much as Norsemen and Edmonton All-Stars and a couple other teams, because it was in a certain area and you had players that came from that area that kind of, it was a bit posh and stuff like that. I mean, football, they didn't really care for football. In fact, they used to just say F this and stuff. Then you had us, which we had to, if you know about that 279 bus, people, from start to finish, if you're from North London and you remember 010, 11, 09, how dangerous them days were on that particular bus, we're having to take that in it. So at the least of when we get to this place, we're dying to win football. These lot probably have better life prospects than us, car. They probably got connects with the private schooling, with Eton, with all of these things, but we're dying to win in football. And I must admit, at times you could see that these lot kind of didn't know how to fight. We would lose games because we're losing silly stuff. But back to the manager, he would just play poor people. Like, obviously you got to respect the manager's decision, but there was one he was so crap, people. He used to play right back. He was so dead. Like, he was so rubbish. He couldn't attack. He couldn't defend. He wasn't strong. He didn't have any good positioning. Poor in the air. Just looked like a victim. But, I mean, if the manager's insistent on that, he's insistent. And the funny thing is, this same Gareth guy, he thought I was going to pay match subs after all of this. Like, I still think to this day he's calling my phone for his P's. But he ain't getting that. But, yeah, like, that's just a... Anyways, I've gone left and right with this, but this is a big reason as to why I see football in the way I do, to be honest with you. On top of just having that natural thirst for football, I'd say this is a kind of, if Darren wasn't my coach and these things, I probably you wouldn't see tactical analysis. I might not understand football to the level I do. That's why I don't get fazed a lot, people, when people say, why don't you have more subscribers, this and that, and you should be here and that. It's because I know what I know, innit? I know I have a long way to go. I know stuff, but I don't have faith in people's ability to see this, innit? But if nothing more, I just would like you lot to see from my channel where you already know that I'm someone who clearly loves football. Like, clearly, like, you've seen over 2,000 videos, and I saw one idiot in the comments saying, oh, all these channels just care about YouTube money. Someone showed me an advert they've seen on my channel, or a penny I've made off YouTube. Not like that would be an issue if someone could create a living for themselves, but that's not me, innit? Or the position I'm currently in. But yeah, man, anyways, this has gone on longer than I thought it would, actually, so I'm gonna get out of your hair on that note. So people, deluded, comment, subscribe, and do the rest if you wish. Thanks for watching.